G'day, welcome back to Fading Margins. Well, I thought it was about time that I showed you what I've been up to recently. I've still got a couple of videos from my French trip. I've got a knife review which I'll hopefully finish off tonight. But first I wanted to show you some of my buck knives. And some of you are going to shout sacrilege, but others I think will appreciate where I'm coming from. I love buck knives, I've got a lot of buck knives. But sometimes I find that purely for personal preference, I like to sort of tune them in to what I like. So I've got 3 or 4 to show you, and we're going to start, I think, with the 104, because those of you who've been around the channel for a little while will remember the 104 because I did a full video on this. And the 104 comes, this is the 104, the Compadre, comes Cerakoted in this dark grey, and this is in 5160. It's a fantastic knife, really is. It's so underrated. I mean, you know, everybody's talking about all the other different models. Very few people talk about this. This is a first-class cutting knife for all sorts of things. It's got Compadre handles. It's perhaps not as generous a handle as a 119, but I like it. I like it a lot. I like it so much that I bought my son one when he graduated from basic training. But the Cerakote for me was a real, well, I'm not really into coated blades, we start there. But also I found that it was coming off pretty readily. The buck that used to appear up here was gone after one session of just cutting some wood. And I thought, well, if I'm going to use this for food preparation, I don't want it in my dinner. So what I did, I don't know if you can see, but if you look carefully, you can see just here, just before the blade starts, where this tang comes down, there's a changing colour. What lies behind that into the handle is actually Cerakote, and what's in front of it is actually just a forced coffee patina. And what I did was I took it to a body shop, and with the handle scales off, I taped it. He took it into the blast room. In fact, he walked in, he walked out. I thought, well, he hasn't done anything, but it was gone. Rubbed it down, cleaned it up, and patinaed it and put it back together again. I have had no issue with the spring steel rusting. It takes a really lovely edge, and it's a good hard-working knife. It's perhaps not as glamorous as some as the others, but I really like this knife, and it's becoming a real go-to. So that was the first one, but some of you will have seen that video before my falling out with YouTube. The second one knife I want to show you, you've also seen this knife before. This is my 124 Frontiersman, and what I had to do with this was when I got it, it had a very fragile edge. Probably a Friday afternoon, if I don't buck has that sort of thing, a Friday afternoon grind or something like that. So I had to work it and rework it until I got a decent edge on it, and that was fine. I wasn't unhappy about that. Well, I was, but I lived with it. And then I think I mentioned to you guys that I'd toned up these edges because this is a very square, blocky Compadre handle, and it gets very sharp in here as it rises into the guard. And that was okay, it wasn't too bad. But what I found was, is that the guards, for me, buck guards are often over-engineered. I got no problem with them per se. I know when they're there, they hold your hand and it's all great. But this one was quite long, and I will put some footage of what this looked like as I marked it up. So I marked it up. I took 5/8 of an inch with a hacksaw off the bottom there, and I'll put some detailed photos in. And I took a little bit off the top here. I chamfered the inside edge so you can get your thumb on it. I took some further micarta off both top and bottom up close to the guard. And it makes a much nicer fit for my hand. I've got a very big palm and very long skinny fingers, and I really like this knife now. It works very well. And what I find is, if you make the guard a little more modest, it gives you a better relationship with the cutting edge, I think. Other people will say otherwise, but For me, that's what's important. I like to be able to get up on the blade, right up on the blade, and I don't want something digging into my hand when I'm doing it. So no problem with the guard, but I just wanted a bit less. So I did that. I don't have, by the way, a whole workshop of tools. I got a pillar drill, which I use like a grinding wheel. I put flappers and various metalworking abrasives on it. I've got a set of files, and I've got sandpaper and a bit of common sense. But I think it came out okay. Doesn't look mint, but I'm happy with it. It's she's a beast of a girl, but it works really well. It works well in the kitchen. I haven't butchered or killed a pig with it or anything like that, because, well, first of all, I live in Great Britain, and if anybody saw me through the window waving this around, they'd wonder what the hell I was doing, and they'd probably have a fright. But, you know, within the constraints of what I'm able to do, I have used it. As you know, I don't talk about knives I haven't used, generally, and I like it very much. Actually, I had somebody tell me that they didn't like the profile. I think it's a gorgeous profile, really utilitarian. So I tweaked that. Now that got me thinking. Well, two things really. First thing I thought was how easily one can take to a 200-pound knife with a file and a hacksaw, which was a bit scary, but nevertheless, that's what we did, and we got a good result. Got me thinking about the 119, and I've been playing with my 190s. I've got three 119s. I've got this black one, standard 119 in the standard black handle, aluminium trim, 420 HC steel. Then I've got this one in the Coca-Cola, which is a gift from my children. Okay, so it's kind of sacrosanct. If I'm honest, I prefer this one because it's lighter. I think the balance is slightly better. I think the Coca-Cola and brass makes it quite heavy, hand heavy, right? But what I did with this one was I started to shorten here and just tidy it up. So as you can, I don't know if you can see there, you might be able to see that, it is slightly shorter. And I thought, yeah, that works quite well. But it wasn't really enough to make that much of a discernible difference. I was kind of playing, you know, seeing what I could do. So I also have this one. This is my 119 in spring steel. So I decided, and this is my favorite one, my favorite user. I decided, right, I'm going to go for it. And I looked through the old books and magazines and stuff, and I realized that between 1965 and 1980, the 119 Special had very little guard on it, certainly a top guard. So I thought, right, well, we'll do a bit of a homage. We'll see what we can do, see if we can duplicate it. So this is what I've done. I've taken the top guard off almost entirely. There's probably 2, maybe 3 mil of guard above the top of the handle, and I've shortened the bottom significantly. And I really love it. You still got plenty of guard to auto-locate your hand on the handle and to keep you locked in. And I thank everybody for their feedback on my my video on using shrink wrap. I had a guy with 50 years hunting experience in Alaska telling me, you know, you don't need tape or anything like that. And I know that Vinny's recently done a video on the 105. And but you know, people ask, people want to know, people are curious. It's a question that's out there, so I made the video. But I find this really nice. Again, I chamfered the back a little bit so that you can get your thumb on it. I find that you can ride your thumb over. You can sort of crawl up the blade in a way that it just doesn't really happen for me personally. With the full guard in place. I took the top varnish off with a bit of thing just to rough it up. Well, not to rough it up so much. It's just I don't know. It makes it more tactile, I find. And as always, I forced a patina on this ages ago. Again, like the 104, a really nice edge. I really do like carbon steels, and I'm really liking the spring steel from Buck. It's very good. Reminds me of Finish 01. It's nice. I think it's a bit more robust than my usual C75 in my pocket knives. So there you are. So that's my 119. Happy with that. It's a sort of 1965 throwback. Profile slightly different. My 104 sans the Cerakote. Kept the Cerakote under the scales, which even if I say so myself, I thought was a clever idea, because any water in there is not going to be able to get to the metal, and I can deal with everything else. Happy with that. And then finally again, the 124 Frontiersman, just a sort of slight modification, just a subtling up of the guards on this. And again, I think it makes it more flexible. They all feel kind of lighter in the hand, and more maneuverable. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that gives you guys some ideas. What I would say is, you go out and buy a knife if it's not quite the way you would have it. It's not necessarily a fault of the knife. It's not necessarily a fault in you. It's just a coming together, is building that relationship with that tool. And it's not. They're not ancient artifacts. They're working tools. And if you need to modify them a little bit to suit your particular way of working, I think go for it. But of course, if you make a mess of it, don't blame Steve, okay? Anyway, that's me. I wish you all health and happiness, and I'm signing out for now. Ta-da.